That car behind me only has 6 cylinders and made over 470 wheel horsepower on a dyno the other day. What's up everyone, my name is Sukhmeet, everyone calls me Suk, and today we're talking about my 2017 BMW X5 XDrive35i, which basically means it's all-wheel drive and has the N55 engine. And it's not stock. Currently as it sits, it's got a Mosselmann Stage 2 electronic wastegate turbocharger, Nostrum high pressure fuel pump, we put a Walbro 450 in the low pressure fuel pump, and it's also got S63 injectors. We discovered a failing injector when we did all the upgrades, and it was much more cost effective for what I was getting, right? So that's where we are now. And after doing all that, I wanted to get some real power numbers of the current setup on E85. Till the dyno day, we had tuned it on the street on 93. We had tuned it up to and including E68, and max boost and load targets were E70 and up. So I wanted to save that for a dyno so I could see how much torque it was making. I didn't want to make too much torque and then for the rods to shoot out the side of the block. So we saved that for a dyno day. Just this past week, got in touch with the folks over at Performance Eurowerks here in the Chicago suburbs, and they were kind enough to rent me their 4-wheel drive dyno jet, so my tuner Kahai Harris and I could go ahead and dial this thing in on E70 plus. So that day it was on E71, so we were still able to dial in that max boost and load target. And after about 5 or 6 runs, we came away with a grand total of 477 wheel horsepower and 502 wheel torque. That's at about 21.5 pounds of boost and only 13 degrees of timing. So pretty conservative overall. I want this thing to be reliable. You know, it's family SUV, so I've driven it cross country from the East Coast all the way to Colorado, and I would still like to do the same thing on this setup, right? So it's once again tuned on full flex. Thank you, Kahai, for your expertise on that. We've done many logs of the current setup, and we're, to this day, we're still constantly making adjustments because, I drive a lot of different ways, city, suburb cruising and highway cruising, and I want to make sure all the feelings dialed in for all that stuff, right? With that said, I did make a little feature film that I'll cut into right after this. I just wanted to give you an idea of what we're looking at here. But before I do, I did want to say a special thank you to a few folks. So firstly, Performance Eurowerks, thanks for letting me rent your dyno and dial this thing in. It was hot, it was a 92-degree ambient temp in that dyno room, but we still managed some awesome numbers, with no methanol and a decent intercooler, so I'm really happy with that. A few folks I have to thank for building the car. That's gonna be Chicane Motorsport, Import Masters, my buddy Steve and my buddy Michael. You know who you are. All in Kansas City. I would not be able to achieve this without all of your expertise and getting the parts installed for me and keeping the car as meticulous as it is. I've spent a lot of time maintaining it meticulously. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and cut to this video. It's like 100 degrees in this garage, so hope you enjoy the video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more about the car. I am getting a new set of wheels that I'm staring at here. If you want to know more about the car and detailed build details, make sure you leave a comment and like and subscribe. So with that said, on to the video.